Okay, so thank you for that beautiful Dharma talk. And of course, I have many, many questions, but one of them just has to do with the sort of repeated aggressions and the historical trauma that gets stored inside of our minds, our hearts, our bodies, and becomes sort of an imprint of how we end up being in the world. And I, like you, I'm very inspired by the events at Standing Rock, and I just wonder what your thoughts are around like real material physical aggression, the water cannons, the rubber bullets, the possibility of bringing in the National Guard against water protectors, and even just terrible insults by, I don't remember his name right now, but the CEO of Energy Transfer Partners, apparently saying things have been quoted where he's just basically insulting Native people for their quote-unquote phony religion and fake beliefs and getting in the way of progress and that kind of thing, and staying in warriorship and staying in compassion in the face of those multiple aggressions, including things that literally could kill us, extinguish our bodies, where the threat of deportation is real. I know of a woman here in Denver, an Ethiopian woman who wears burqa and has been driven off the highway by people. And when it gets to be very tangible in that way, it seems like our emergency physical response in the body is, of course, to protect ourselves and to go into incredible survival mode. So I just wonder if you have any thoughts to share about when we encounter such things again and again, how we stay in our warriorship, or do we sometimes just lose it and then we come back to community and singing songs together and safety and so forth? Just your thoughts on that kind of thing.
Well, it's like the way I began the talk was reading about activists needing to really come from a place of healing our own trauma in order to not become inflexible in the face of all these traumatizing events that we're going to keep encountering. And I think every time well, first of all, we have to be prepared when we go into these environments. We have to have some sense of our connectedness and what our purpose is in because those people at Standing Rock who took all those bullets and the water hoses, they weren't doing it just for themselves. They were doing it on behalf of all of us, And I think when you're in a situation like that and you can feel that you're being supported by thousands of people all over the world. There were 72,000 people praying on that day, December 3rd or 4th, December 4th, Interfaith Day of Prayer in support of Standing Rock. 72,000 people around the world were doing some kind of ceremony at 2 p.m. Eastern. When you're in front of those bullets and you know that you're there on behalf of all of us, you can be there with a different kind of strength than when you're there as an individual,
Right.
So for one, I think just having this sense again of wisdom and compassion, this knowing you're intervening, allows you to act in different kinds of ways than you would without that wisdom of intervening. And
hello. Hi, Jimmy May.
And
that's my daughter Kaira.
hi.
And her friend Beth. Nice to see you, my
Merry
dear.
Christmas.
And this trauma is really real, and the trauma needs to be healed and dealt with. And so all concrete efforts that we can all be a part of to support activists who've been abused. We need to reach out and help and hold and be there for each other. And I know what I wanted to read earlier from Ruby Sales. It's related to this question. It was just one more paragraph that I didn't say, but there's a lot of inspiration to be drawn from our own country's history of struggles. The Chicano movement, the farm workers movement, the civil rights movement, the Native American rights movements in the 70s, 80s, LGBTQ, and all of these nonviolent, where people took a lot of hits, and transformation came from that, So this is what she says, in that same thing on love and outrage, she says, and I would go on further to say that Black folk religion, the kind of resistance movements that came out of Black folk religion, have saved America from tilting over into the abyss of fascism. It has been the salvation of a country. It has been the balance to talk about that kind of justice and God talk and reaffirmation and love and right relations. To talk about that in the heat of empire, in the heat or maybe heart of empire, to talk about God as a liberating God has really been an important stopgap to save America from itself. And I feel like that's all the people of color movements, all the movements of the more vulnerable people, the disabled, the disability movement, they have all been saving America from itself. So when we're a part of these struggles, and we know we're not doing it for ourselves alone, and we know we're doing it not just for that particular struggle. Standing Rock is not just about that pipeline.
Absolutely.
Standing Rock is about the whole of this country and all of the injustices. It's about the whole of this planet and how we treat the earth. So when we face the bullets, with that in our hearts, it's different, But I would just say that we aren't, we're humans and we get hurt and we get angry. And so we need a way to come and take care of our wounds and be there for each other. So that, one thing I wanted to say too is Mitchell Ratner, a Dharma teacher in our tradition, went to Israel with a delegation from his Sangha of 6-8 people. And he listened to a woman from Liberia who was in Israel at the time. This woman led the movement for peace during the Civil War in Liberia, which happened through women. That whole Civil War ended because women got soldiers to stop killing each other. So she was addressing a group of women for peace who were Palestinian and Israeli in Israel, and they went to hear her. And she said to them, she said, don't do this work if you're not willing to lose what you have. To lose what you have. She said, if you think you can get involved in these peace struggles and not have to sacrifice something, not lose something, don't start. So
Persistence is a watchword of activism.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to throw your body over the barbed wire and let others come over you. But the persistence in keeping the dialogue open, even if it seems one-sided, is probably the mainstay of the social activity.
And I think sacrifice is part of it. I consider how our country sends 18 and 19-year-olds to sacrifice themselves largely for the advancement of corporate profits. But there's a story woven about national safety around it. and how we do that easily, somewhat easily, and funded with tax money and so forth. And how much intense amount of training is given to soldiers so that they can dehumanize the so-called enemy, and how sort of little formal training that we have as peace warriors, and how we need to be engaged in that training all the time through our practice and our community building and so forth. The work is not easy and by no means over.
It's a
It
way
may
of
never-
life.
Yeah.
A way of life that has changed into a way of life for those who are busy creating practices that help them keep it all together.
Right. Right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I hope to join this group of wonderful people for a Q&A over Skype if my flight allows me to do so.
Okay.
So I
We
was
certainly hope
curious.
so.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I was curious as